I'm fixing
We're about to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to.
Very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, one of the jobs I can't just because it's already been started, so it's kind of.
Oh yeah, you're in it now. Yeah.
but one of them.
Afternoon, guys. Evening, guys. Evening, team. Evening, fellas. Evening, folks.
One of those will work.
One of those will work. Good evening, guys. Chris Work here at ProfitDig. I'm here with Luke Fielder and Jeff Spencer. Luke, I appreciate you coming back again, man. You've been here before, and Luke is a new ProfitDig user, and he just started his own construction company. Luke, what's the company's name?
TriStar Land Solutions.
I knew that. Just wanted you to say it. TriStar Land Solutions, LLC. That's right. And you all know Jeff Spencer. Well, these guys were talking about something earlier that we thought was pretty interesting and can be really useful for all of you out there. And so I'm just going to turn the floor over to these guys, just talking about doing some takeoff with some transparency paper.
Well, you know, the other day, Luke had asked me a question, and it's a question I've got, several times over the years. He asked me about, what's the easiest or best way to do a takeoff on like grade work without having to buy like a digitizer, some kind of takeoff tool. Mm-hmm. And it's a struggle. I mean, and it's a slow process when you do it by hand. But my dad's ex-partner, Tony Tan, he showed me this trick years ago. And what he did was like he took transparency sheets. You take a Sharpie, use a 5-point Sharpie, and you make up one transparency sheet for every scale of your engineering scale. So a 10 scale, 20, 30, 40, 60, make you a template. And with that Sharpie, it's there, it stays. Mm-hmm. One corner, top, bottom, right, left, don't matter, make you a mark on there to show what that scale is so you can keep up with it. So when you get a set of drawings and you lay them out, you want to do a takeoff, first thing you want to do is find out your area. You got to strip, if you're doing mass grading, you got to strip the whole area. So you want to do that first and foremost. Once you get that done, then you take your transparency sheets, you lay them down. I do it 50-foot grids. So you got a 50-foot grid, you look at your average cut or fill for that grid, move to the next one, so on and so forth, all the way across the top, next line down till you get that whole sheet done. Mark your corner, top and bottom, flip that sheet over, line it up, mark it over here, so you're ready to go next time. Do the grid again. After that, you flip it over again. Depending on what size drawings you're looking at, you may have to flip it, a couple, 3 times. Then you come down here to the bottom, you line your top corner up with your last, where you started at with the bottom corner. Mark your bottom corner here, same thing, you flip it all the way across. You may have to do it 2 or 3 times, depending on how big a job you're doing. But that will give you a 50-foot grid. And for instance, like whenever you're using, like pay dirt or something like that, a digitizer, mm-hmm. as you progress and get to the point where you can afford to buy one. At that point, when you do a 3D printout, they're going to give you 50-foot grids. That's what you estimated. They do an average on 50-foot grids. So you're doing the same thing as what a digitizer would do. You're just taking a little slower steps. But I've had people that have checked me against the digitizer, and we've always been within like 2 or 3% of each other.
Right.
That's pretty damn close.
That's pretty impressive.
And doing that, so would you go beforehand, would you take on your original plans before you put your sheet over top of it, would you go ahead and like take a pencil and mark out your 50-foot marks on each direction?
No, not on my plans I don't. I rely strictly on my transparency sheets. Mm-hmm. Now what I do is I will take a tight border around, depending on how your job is positioned and shaped. At that point, you can't get that square on your transparency sheet to line up with all the angles.
Exactly.
So you got to have a starting point. So you start the same point all the way across. Well, the next line you may start on, you may only be able to use 50% of that transparency sheet.
Right.
Just use that. But like for your topsoil strip, you pick out your angles. You take your scale and you measure across your narrowest point, measure across your widest point. And then you take it, just say it's like 300 feet. Mm-hmm. Your widest point, say 600 feet. But you take an average. So now we're roughly, 450 feet average.
Right.
So you take that average between the two, and that's what you use for, take your whole area, side to side, top to top, take an average top to top, average side to side, that's what you do topsoil spread with.
Okay.
Like right here in Middle Tennessee, you know, you're usually like at a half a foot topsoil on average. Depending on what region you're in, some places you might have 2 inches, some places you might have 1.5 feet, but we always figure everything on a half foot. But, you know, to me, that was it. Now, what you was talking about earlier, before Tony showed me that, that's what I was doing. I was drawing lines across my drawings. I'd get a T-square, and go all the way across, do a 50-foot grid, I'd take them off like that. But with the transparency sheets, you don't mark your drawings up to where you can't see them. All you got is little marks where you made with Sharpie, you know, to show where you start, stop at with each sheet.
Right, yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at as far as just taking a pencil and lightly drawing little grid lines for your 50 by 50 areas.
You can do that, but what this does, that stops you that step. So you can do jobs quicker.
Okay.
So you know you can actually, you know, instead of drawing grids on every piece of paper, your grids are already on your transparencies. So you use those as a template to where you're not marking up your drawings all the time because you're just wasting time. You've already marked them up on your transparencies.
Right. Okay.
Well, that's a good tip. Yeah, and look, you've implemented this strategy, haven't you?
I'm fixing
We're
to.
about to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm about
That's
to.
very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of the jobs I can't just because it's already been started, so it's kind of.
Well, you're in it now, yeah.
But one of the other jobs, I'm definitely gonna have to use it.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all enlightening me. I have not heard of this yet. Yeah, we've been talking about this stuff for years, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's always something. It's also something new to talk about.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
It works. It's pretty accurate. I mean, like I said, I've had a lot of people that have checked my numbers and stuff, and you know, big jobs being within 2 or 3% of what a digitizer says. So
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, impressive.
So as far as that goes, is once you get your yardage, whether it's cut or fill, obviously, and then and once you get that done, then you just be able to calculate your hours.
Yep.
Depending on how many yards it is, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. You got to look at your shortest haul versus your longest haul, and figure out, you know, like on a big job, like a road job, for instance. You know, you may have a cut right here and a fill right next to it. That's pretty easy to figure. Less equipment, you can do it quicker.
Right.
But if you got a cut right here and you got a half a mile, you got to haul it. That takes more equipment and it takes, you know, more time to load and haul.
Right.
So that's what you got to figure out. You know, it's like, you know, what's my average yardage per hour?
Yeah.
And that's where you come into play. You know, like, you know, me and you been against each other. You may look at it one way, I may look at it another. Which one's going to have the best advantage?
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, Luke, I appreciate it, fellas.
Yes, sir.
Thanks as always. Check us
Next
out.
time.
ProfitDig.com.